Hi guys, welcome to the Darkness channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. Gwen got hurt. I can't tell Dad. He's gonna hurt me, she said, her voice shaky. Let me please, I responded, not sure of what to expect. Everyone else was distracted, and it was just me and Colin and Gwen. I followed her into her bedroom. I was about to scream at what I just saw, but she quickly covered my mouth with her hand and told me to shut up. Gwen was on the ground. Her face was purple. She had a wire cord wrapped tightly around her neck. She wasn't moving or breathing. I've never seen a dead person, but I knew this had to be it. What happened? I almost screamed. I was shaking and my legs were jelly. I don't know. It got out of hand, Colin said, and she was acting so weird, so strange. She didn't seem to be that upset. She seemed hyper and jittery. What are we gonna do? She asked. I didn't do anything. This was all Colin's fault. We have to wake Dad up, I told her, and she just laughed nervously and shook her head. No, I'm not, she responded. But this is your fault, I said in a loud voice. She covered my mouth again. I have an idea. Colin's eyes got big, like she discovered the greatest idea in the world. She scared me. I was always put off by Colin, but this time she was really scary and unpredictable. That's when she revealed the big plan. She was going to call the cops and tell them that Dad did it. She said that he never takes care of us, and we live in a bad home. The cops will believe her because we're just kids. Then he will be locked up and gone forever, and we'll live in a better home. And this will never happen again. I asked her a few questions, but it seems like she had it all planned out. She showed no remorse for Gwen. In fact, she was so involved in her story that she started to really believe that Dad did it. Her plan really did work, because the cops took Dad away, and our foster mother was able to move us into a better home. We didn't have an adult home with us most of the day because she worked. The four of us, Nathan, Helen, Colleen, and I, we took care of ourselves. We were around the same age as well, 12 and 13. But I never told anyone what really happened, and I was the only one to know the truth. I was terrified of Colin. Actually, I am terrified of Colin. I was worried she would go after me or the other girls. She took Gwen's life over a doll. That made me fear for my sisters and I. I didn't even think of telling our mom or the other girls. Colleen was extremely smart, and I have no idea what she's capable of. Sometimes I fear that I'm next. I thought to myself that maybe it was just a mistake and it will never happen again. I tried to live my life like normal and pretend like I knew nothing of her crime. But things kept happening, and I knew I needed to protect myself and my sisters. Colin was obsessed with watching murder documentaries and true crime on the TV. No more cartoons or Drake and Joe. It was all about death. Even my other sisters thought it was strange. She even got into Jeffrey Dahmer and other serial killers who not only killed their victims but ate them. She would say, "I wonder what they taste like." And "I heard you observe their powers by eating them." I grew more and more scared each day because I knew the real Colin. My sisters just thought she was weird or edgy. But I knew what she really did. I never spoke to her about Gwen ever again. I never brought it up. I was hoping that nothing like that would ever happen, until one snowy day in December when it happened again. I looked everywhere for Colin, who disappeared into the snowy backyard in the dark. Mom wasn't home yet. She wouldn't be home for another few hours. I had a horrible feeling in my gut that Colin was doing something really bad. So I searched for her. That's when I found her standing in the snow, looking down. When I caught up to her, I swallowed the lump in the throat. Tears brimmed my eyes, a combination of cold air and fear. I saw a boy, around our age, face down in the snow. The snow was red around him, and Colin held a knife in her hand. She was fascinated by what she's done. "Colin!" I screamed at her. She turned and pointed the knife at me. "Can you leave me alone? Why are you always following me?" she asked, nonchalant. I thought it was a mistake with Gwen. My voice was shaking. "What if he's so smart and strong? I can observe his power and be stronger too?" she asked, and I thought it was some sick joke. But the look on her face was serious. I turned on my heel, ready to sprint back to house, lock the door, and call the cops. But she grabbed onto my coat sleeve, stopping me in my tracks. "No, you're not telling anyone, ever," she told me. Colin could sense that I was unimaginably terrified of her, and she loved having power over me. That's how she had control over me. I just didn't want her to hurt me, or my sisters, or anyone for that matter. She told me she wouldn't hurt us if we kept her secret. She used fear to bind us, to control us. And from then on, that's when the madness began. Blake's point of view. I turned the knob and slowly started to walk down the stairs. Curiosity filled my mind as I was about to take in what I had been wondering the past few nights. I have been staying here. Anticipation was running through me as I walked down the stairs one step at a time. This basement looked pretty cluttered, and I was surprised because the whole house is always spotless because of Anne. There were many boxes and shelves around the large area, but one thing in particular caught my eyes. There was a metal table with a flickering light bulb hanging above it. There was also a large silver fridge across from it, like abnormally large. Maybe that's the cooler or something? I don't know. I walked slowly around the basement. So, this is where the strange noise was heard? I could have sworn I heard a man's voice down here. There couldn't be. I saw a little door across from the room. I slowly walked over to it and walked in. This was the laundry room. I tilted my head in confusion when I saw a huge pile of random clothes on the floor. I picked up one of the articles of clothing, and it was a woman's dress shirt that looked way too big to be any of these girls. And some men's clothing too. Whose clothes were these? Maybe this is where they're getting the clothes for me from? After I examined everything, which was mostly just me walking around and poking at things, I started walking back to the stairs. That's when I heard the front door close. My eyes got wide and I started to panic. I heard footsteps heading towards the kitchen, and I knew someone was coming towards the basement. I saw a door that led to the outside, and I quickly ran for that and let myself out. I knew that wasn't the best idea, but I didn't want to get caught snooping around their house when they aren't here, especially in the basement where they don't want anyone in for some reason. I was walking on the freshly cut grass, and I was out of breath from rushing. I sat down near a bush and weighed my options. I would look like a complete idiot if I just show up at the front door again and they'd ask where I went. And I don't want to just run back in there through where I came. That's the whole point of why I left through this door. So they don't find me in the basement. I sighed and I began walking until I reached my spot again after what felt like hours of walking. Now what? I was offered 2 weeks of living in a house while I looked for a job and maybe some cheap place or even a hotel or somewhere to stay at when I get the money. And now I am back on my own. I sat there and feel even more stupid. I mean, I guess I was used to being on the streets for a while, but now I feel even more awkward just returning to my spot on this corner. I watched as the car drove by, some turning the corner where I'm at, but one car sparked familiarly, like I have seen it sometime before. It was my brother's car. I never wanted to see him again, and I can't believe he is this close to me. He glanced at me but acted like I was just some ordinary homeless man and continued to drive right past me. I mean, I guess it wasn't so bad and didn't hurt as much. It's better than being abused constantly. Hours later, it was dark and I just continued to sit there. I kept thinking about the piles of random clothes in that basement. It placed odd questions in my mind, which I refused to answer. I tried pushing them away. A car parked at the corner I was sitting at, and I was surprised. Then someone walked out and crossed their arms when they saw me. "What are you doing out here again, Blake?" Nathan asked. I don't know what to say. I was in some weird, inexplainable situation. "Why would you just run away from us and live on the street again? You can't give up this opportunity to get back on your feet again." I could sense her frowning. Part of me wanted to ask how she knew where to find me, or why she even went looking for me. I chose not to ask. She just sighed and I stood up. "You just had us worried if something happened to you," she said and gestured for me to get in the car. I sighed and we both walked in the car. She turned the music up so we didn't really talk and it was just awkward. I can't say I was in the basement. I really wanted to ask about the things I saw though. We arrived at the house and I walked in. Helen was sitting on the couch reading a magazine and then she looked over at me, not saying anything. Colleen walked in from the dining room and crossed her arm and sighed. "Where'd you go?" I thought if you wanted to go somewhere, you could at least tell us, Colleen said. Just for a walk." I lied. "No, I was just going back to where I was before I came here." I didn't expect these girls to be that upset with me for leaving. It started to feel a little weird now. Why do they care that much? The rest of the day went by slowly and I was just watching TV. I asked if I could borrow their computer so I could look for jobs, but they just made excuses to why I couldn't. Then what was the point of coming back here? I was starting to grow more and more uncomfortable being at their house. Dinner was strange. We had some meatloaf and it must have not sat well in my stomach. Shortly after dinner, I ran up to the bathroom and threw up. I went to bed early that night and I needed to rest my mind. I don't know whether they use veal or some other sort of meat, but it did not taste good at all and my stomach was fighting to get rid of that. 3 days later, all of the girls went to work today and Helen had to babysit. I walked into the living room and I noticed everyone was gone, but a letter rested on the coffee table. "Blake, I got called in to babysit today, so you have the house to yourself. Please just help clean around if you want to keep yourself busy. The trash needs to be taken out. Helen." I left a note bag on the cherry-colored coffee table and I helped clean around. Just little things. I decided to do a little extra and to impress Anne. I wiped down the stove and countertops in the kitchen, so they were spotless, a little more than they were before. I made sure there were absolutely no dishes in the sink, and I made myself some soup to eat. My stomach still ached from the weird reaction I had to the dinner last night. While it was heating in the microwave, I remembered the last things I had to do was take out the trash. I took the bags outside and to the garbage can. I looked around and I saw a middle-aged woman with curly black hair, one of their neighbors, taking her garbage out too. She made eye contact with me and smiled, and walked over to me. This was getting awkward. It's been a while since I've seen a new face around here. Did you just move in? She asked kindly. I shook my head. No, this isn't my house. I'm just staying here for a while, I replied. She made a small O with her mouth and quickly replaced it with a smile. Oh, so the girls still lived here? Yeah, I replied. It's weird. I hardly see the girls, and when I do, they're always bringing someone over. She said. What? Oh, I replied. I didn't want to engage in conversation. Yeah, I assumed they just enjoyed the company. What's your name? She asked me. Blake, I told her. I'm Nancy. It was nice to meet you, she said. But after we talked a little more, she turned on her heel and went back inside her house. I did the same. I ate my soup on the couch and watched the TV. It felt like forever since the girls were home. Although I actually do enjoy being alone. I finished my chicken noodle soup and washed the bowl and spoon I used and placed it on the drying rack beside the sink. Colleen was supposed to let me use her computer, but hasn't let me use it yet. I knew I shouldn't just be using their stuff without their permission, but I really needed to find a job. I looked in every room to find Colleen's, and I finally reached a room across from the one I'm staying at. The theme for this room is blue. Everything is blue, from the bed set to the carpet to the curtains. There was also a white dresser and nightstand. I spotted the computer at the white desk. I sat and tried to turn it on. But here's the thing, it wouldn't turn on. From the look of it, it was broken. Why didn't she tell me her desktop was broken? Why did she say I can use it later if she knew it wasn't work? Thanks for staying till the end. Please subscribe to more stories.